Hello guys, it's story time with Checkers and Bubbles here. So tonight has been 4 years since my ex-boyfriend Scott and I broke up. So it all started in 2019. My day program class and I we went to the park for a new student barbecue, and I saw Scott for the first time, and I was just I was starting to fall in love with him. And I'm like, oh my god, he looked really kind and really handsome and really wonderful, and it was love at first sight. And of course, the second time I got to see him was, I think it was like June or July. So my day program class and we went to the high school where my summer school teacher worked, and we had like a fun day and stuff like that, played games, and I kept looking at Scott, and I was just falling in love with him, and just really happy with that guy. But when the new school semester started at my day program, I told Scott that I had a crush on him, and I told him, how much I've been thinking about him, about how nice he is, and how I'm happy with this person, even though we weren't dating. But turns out that he had the feelings for me as well. Like, he had the romantic feelings for me as well, and I was just like, oh my god, like I was just so happy. But anyways, so for Scott and I, he did a lot of nice things, which was super nice. When I was graduating from my day program, he um he called me babe. He said, "Thank you, babe. Thank you, baby," something like that. And I never had such a supportive person who was just really nice, and he just blurted those words out, in front of the audience, and of course saying it at me. I'm like, "Oh my god." So I never had someone who was just so kind like him. And of course, a few days after the graduation, we started to hang out. Like, we went to Panera Bread, and we just had dinner together, and I got to meet his mom and dad. His dad is a cardiologist. So I'm like, oh my god, like his parents were super nice. And then after dinner at Panera Bread, then we went to Baskin Robbins for ice cream for dessert. So we had ice cream for dessert at Baskin Robbins. And then, after hanging out and getting to know each other, on February 12th, 2020, Scott and I, we started dating. So in other words, we became a couple, and I was very happy to have such a wonderful person like him, and we did a lot of fun things. He was also very supportive too. Before I dated him, he was very supportive when I got hired for my job at Meta, because I was working there for 2 years as a office ambassador. But anyways, back to the whole story. So Scott and I, we did a lot of fun things. We used to play Roblox together. We would go out for a dinner date at either Panera Bread or Mission City Grill. Like, we used to have some fun times together. But yeah, but anyways, our relationship was healthy at first, but then it became really bad because what happened was, we kept having those disagreements. We were arguing. Not only that, it was on Halloween of 2021. He kissed my sister right in front of me, and then he touched me inappropriately right up on the private part on my chest, which is something I don't like. And then he wasn't being respectful to not just me and my family, but also to our belongings, like my mom's car, for example. Like, one time when my mom had to go pick up a food order at a restaurant because, my mom was a food delivery driver, Scott wanted to kiss me at the parking lot, and I'm like, no, no. I said no, because that's too dangerous, and plus, if there was cars, either both of us would end up getting killed or hurt, or, if he had the car door open, then the door open would break. And my mom was leasing the car at the time, so I said to him, "We need to treat, our items with respect and us with respect too." And he got really mad at me. He got mad at me and he thought that I don't love him anymore. I said to Scott, I said, "Hey, just because I'm looking out for you doesn't mean I don't love you." I told him that, and of course, I said to him I was just trying to look out for his safety because the last thing I want is a dead guy or injured guy getting hit by a car and being on a wheelchair with paralysis or something like that. But anyways, his parents were super nice. So one time, when my mom's car broke down, Scott's father came to pick us up, and of course we had to get a car, like a rental car from an airport, I believe, because my mom was a delivery driver. So there was a couple of nice things, like for example, Scott and his father, they brought McDonald's to us, like they brought lunch for us, and I never had someone who was just so kind, like his family. And of course, one time for me and my sister's birthday, we had my birthday party at his house at the yard, and I got to introduce him to two of my best friends from work, Ashley and Josue. Those two were my besties from work, but I don't get to see them anymore, which is really sad. Plus, I lost contact with them. But yeah, so anyways, back to the whole story. On November 2021, Scott and his family, they were going to Las Vegas, and I wanted to join too, but his mom said that they planned the trip before they met me, and they said no, and I felt really upset and I felt excluded. Like, I felt left out because I wanted to join too, and plus, that wouldn't be fair. That wouldn't be fair, that they be leaving me out. And that's when it led to me becoming so possessive and obsessive. Like, I felt like if I couldn't have him, no one could. And I have a fear of losing people. Like, I have separation anxiety, and it's hard for me to share people with others. Like, it's hard for me to share my loved ones with anybody, whether it's my friends or my family. It's hard for me to share. But anyways, that also led to not only the relationship becoming so bad, but it also had scared Scott and his family. Like, they got really scared when I got really possessive and obsessed. But when they were gone at Las Vegas, I had trouble concentrating at work. Like, I was just too upset, and I would always end up going to the quiet room at work, to eat lunch by myself because I was just too upset. And sometimes I don't want to eat anymore because I have a hard time, with being away from someone who I love. Like, it's hard for me to let go of something or someone that I love very much. And of course, one time, it was in 2020, Scott and his family, they drove by my house, and they gave me Pokemon cards for my birthday. One time they gave me Scott gave me some chocolate and a keychain for Christmas. And it was in 2021. Scott and I, we went to Baskin Robbins for some ice cream, and then we had a gift exchange there. Like, he gave me a big white furry blanket because you know me, I like to have a blanket on when I'm in bed. And I gave him a Build-A-Bear plush, and I gave him some candy as well. So for the Build-A-Bear plush, it was a cat because my ex-boyfriend Scott, he's a cat person and he likes cats very much. So I gave him a Build-A-Bear cat plushie that had my voice in there, so that way he could listen to the nice words that I said to him. And of course, sadly, on January 16th, 2022, so I called Scott in the morning to say good morning, and then a few minutes later, he called me back and he got really mad at me just because I gave him a call. Like, he got mad at me for no reason. And of course, I had to talk to my mom about it, and I realized that, I noticed the red flags in the relationship, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I don't think this is getting us anywhere. And then A few minutes later, I called Scott and I said to him, I said, Scott, I don't think this is getting us to anywhere. Like I told him, this relationship is getting us nowhere. It's really unhealthy. I'm not very happy. And then I asked if we want to break up, and he said yes. And that really hit me so much. It really had affected me both emotionally and mentally. Like I was just so upset, and I had a hard time with concentrating at work. Like it led to me having some trouble concentrating at work. Like I had trouble concentrating, and I just been very upset, didn't want to eat anymore. And of course, all I had left was a broken heart. So I really regret what I've done, but I know, yes, I learned now that having an obsession and possession on people is not okay, and that it could ruin a relationship or a friendship as well, and I wouldn't want that to happen. So I learned my lesson. So now I know I have to be very careful and try not to repeat the same mistake like I've done, because I know, yes, it could destroy friendships and relationships as well, and I would never want to have that, to do that again. I would never want to do that again, because normally I'm a very nice person, like I'm very kind and respectful, but I know sometimes I have my good days, bad days, and because I have separation anxiety, it's hard for me to let go of somebody who I love because I have a fear of losing people. But yeah, so I miss a lot of things that I've done with Scott. Like, we had a lot of fun together. Like, every time, like sometimes after work, I would visit him at his house, and of course, I would see his brother Luke and the cat named Floyd, who was an orange tabby. There was a lot of things I missed. During our relationship, we actually had Pokemon of our own, so I gave him a Nidoran plush. It was a boy, and then I had a Nidoran female. So we both had a Nidoran. He had the purple one, his name is Romeo, and I had the blue one, her name was Juliet. So Romeo and Juliet were two of our Nidoran. So every time I would visit Scott, I would bring Juliet with me, my Nidoran female, and he would have Romeo ready. And of course, I would put Juliet and Romeo on the coffee table when I visit his house. And of course, we just talk. And of course, sometimes when we have ice cream, like Baskin Robbins, we would just go back to his house. And of course, we would watch the SpongeBob SquarePants episode called Chocolate with Nuts, because, Scott liked that episode. But yeah, so like I said, today has been 4 years since I broke up with him. So the last time I talked to him was, I think it was after a few days after the breakup. He called me and he texted me. He asked if I had a new boyfriend. I said no, and I told him that I had a crush at the time, which was Rohan. But yeah, so after I broke up with him, I got rid of all the stuff that Scott gave me, and I blocked him on Roblox. So I blocked him on Roblox, and I got rid of his phone number. And not only that, I had to relinquish my Nidorina Juliet, who was my stuffed animal. So I had to relinquish her. So she's no longer with me anymore. But I do have a new special Nidorina and Nidorino. So they're both named Romeo and Juliet. So they're the new versions. But yeah, so that's all I have to say. Story time with Checkers and Bubble signing off. Bye, everyone.